Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Marvel's Ms. Marvel. Excelsior, and welcome. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Marvel's Ms. Marvel episodes 1 and 2. As always, our thanks to Disney Plus Canada for getting these episodes to us early for review. But before we get started, if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of TV, movies, games, toys, collectibles, and all things Geekcentric. Now let me begin by introducing my two cosmic co-hosts. First up, Justin, the long, lanky, and limber Lawrence.
Well, that works, but that other one did not work. I don't know what you're going for
Come
there.
on, embiggen. That's her power. She embiggins, dude.
No, I got it the first time. It was a stretch, though. Get it? Now that was better.
There you go. I was going to say, speaking of stretches, stretching out to join us, we also have Kevin, the knockout king of the cosmos, Hudson. How you doing?
Not too bad. Ready to knock this review out of the park.
Let's go. I think it's crazy, though, that we're already reviewing yet another Marvel Disney Plus show. I mean, it just seems like it's nonstop, and then we've got another one in the wings, and it's absolutely crazy.
Well, they're doing a really nice ballet, if you will, of Disney Plus, then theatrical release. So we had Moon Knight and then Doctor Strange. Now we got Ms. Marvel, and we're about to get Thor at the beginning of July.
It's fantastic, and I'm just happy to be a geek right now. I think we've been talking the past few weeks with everything going on in the world of Star Wars and Marvel, and even outside of that with with the recent release of The Boys. Just all geeky properties are happening, and it's really great. But before we stretch this opening too thin, let me start by looping you in on the details for this series. Marvel Studios' Ms. Marvel is a new original series that introduces Kamala Khan, a Muslim-American teenager growing up in Jersey City. An avid gamer and voracious fan fiction scribe, Kamala is a superhero mega fan with an oversized imagination, particularly when it comes to Captain Marvel. Yet, Kamala feels like she doesn't fit in at school, and sometimes even at home, that is, until she gets superpowers like the heroes she's always looked up to. Life gets better with superpowers, right? I think that's kind of what they're going for. Ms. Marvel will air weekly on Disney Plus beginning June 8th, 2022, and the show was created by Bisha K. Ali, and the two episodes we've watched are directed by Adil Arbi and Bilall Fallah, who we actually had an interview with, which is up right now. You can go check that out. Justin did a wonderful job on that interview, and I think he caught the hype bug off of those two guys. They were hype.
Man, they're so much fun.
It was so good. You have to check out that interview and see who they would cosplay as at the local Avengers Con. And the second episode was directed by Meera Menon. Ms. Marvel stars Iman Vellani, Matt Lintz, Yasmin Fletcher, Zenobia Shroff, Mohan Kapoor, Sagar Sheikh, Rish Shah, Fawad Khan, Laurel Marsden, Adaku Ononogbo, Laith Nakli, Nimra Buka, Tavina Springer, and Aramis Knight. So guys, let's get right to it. This show freaking slaps, giving me mad Disney Channel vibes, but with Marvel-level production value and incredible style. Let's start with what did you like, or even I would go so far as to say probably love about these first two episodes of Ms. Marvel?
I absolutely loved the visual style. This first episode especially, Adil and Bilall lay the groundwork for just the imagination that lives within Kamala Khan, and just how that's represented in animations and graphics to help convey, emotions and even just literal text messages that you'll just see. I think they had fun with that. It builds its own style. It feels familiar in certain aspects, like we were talking offline about, Into the Spider-Verse or Scott Pilgrim, which you pointed out was actually in one of the episodes.
There's a nod to it.
I think that again, it's all overtly intentional, but it feels fresh because it's being done in its own way for this series as a way to kind of define it. And that's continued right into episode 2, even though, they have different directors. The visual style is just, it's fluidly kept through. And just things like they employ sort of spinning camera techniques and a lot of interesting ways that the camera moves. And again, just very fluidly kept between episode 1 and 2. So it feels like spiritually the same visual style, if you will.
Well, you brought up even just the text messages. I think seeing the environment adapt to those messages in such a very fresh and different way than we've seen before. We've seen the thing sometimes of the messages appearing in the world, but this is just done in such a fantastic way. And it's so stylish and it's so much fun to watch. We'll touch upon the music, which is incredible, but I feel like you could watch this show muted and still have a blast with just how much fun it is to look at. And I think that's one of the best aspects. And I think that really does speak to, again, this visual style that they've crafted for this series.
Yeah, I certainly think it's one of the more unique and vibrant looking shows or even just Marvel properties of late that we've seen. Yes. But what I think even enhances that is just, it just feels like there's a production value level that's higher than we've maybe gotten on some previous TV shows on Disney Plus. I mean, not to stray too far, but one of my biggest issues with Obi-Wan is that it feels like very much like a TV show and not the kind of movie quality setup that we're used to with that character. And so that's always almost a concern that I have with these Marvel shows, is that it'll feel too much like a TV show in a world of big, very high-budget movies. And yet this show, maybe because it is so simple and grounded at the root of what's going on here, they're able to make it just feel like a big production. I was really, really blown away, not just with how fun everything looked, but how good it looked too.
And I have to say, like, speaking of the look of the show, I mean, I think the comic translation is so fantastic, taking really what G. Willow Wilson established in that era of Kamala Khan. The way that they've translated the story to fit within the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in a way that, as somebody who, like, I read a majority of those comics, I didn't find it to be offensive in any way. It didn't feel like it was steering the characters in a completely different direction, while at the same time, it still gives me something new and exciting to watch. And there's a ton of, if you did read the comics, look in the background of these episodes. There's so many really neat Easter eggs that I'm sure we're going to be pointing out on a future Watch Club.
Called it out. It has the right parts of the comic book adapted for the MCU. They're finding a way to take what has helped tell Kamala Khan's story in the comic books and adapt it into the MCU like flawlessly. It's really working.
And I brought up the music earlier. The music selections are so awesome.
They slap, man. They're so good.
But the best part about it is it's kind of something we highlighted in Turning Red, right? Where we hear a blend of music that's very much Kamala's culture, but infused with modern day trap, hip hop music. Yeah. And the coolest thing about it is it continues the main theme of her character, which is her desperately trying to honor her culture and her family while also finding and defining her own path and staying true to who she is. Yeah. And I think it's really smart, and it does such a good job to, again, elevate that theme. And that's what when we talk about confidence in a show, and like a show being confident in every single aspect, that shows that level of confidence, that even the music is playing a part of the story. And I just think it's so well done. I can't wait for the soundtrack for this one. But I also wanted to bring up, obviously, our main star, Canadian-born Iman Vellani, is perfect as Kamala Khan. I mean, I really can't see anyone else playing the character. And, the directors have said, and we've all seen that video where she learned she got the part of Kamala Khan. She's such a huge Marvel fan. And I think that's another one of the, kind of the coolest aspects about the show from a writing standpoint, is more than ever, we get to live through this character that is so relatable. And she, especially in her love for Marvel, but also the fact that she, her character highlights for some people a culture that they feel seen in. And then it also will introduce to a lot of people, a lot of audiences, a beautiful culture that needs to be highlighted more and more, especially in the world that we live in today. And so I just think it's a fantastic aspect about the character of Kamala Khan is that we get these two worlds fused together.
Yeah, I think that's intentional. That's why this story is being told now. It's relevant. It needs to be told. There's a large audience of people that this series speaks to, which is why it was so successful when it came out in 2012, right? Like they've commented on the fact that she hasn't been in Marvel Comics for that long, but she's already being adapted for the MCU because her story is that relevant. So, Iman Vellani's portrayal of Kamala Khan, it doesn't even seem like acting. It just seems like it's inherently who she is. Obviously, she's acting. Obviously, she is.
Sure.
She's adjusting to tell the story, but it just feels so natural. It feels so real to who she is in real life. Probably that there's very little differentiation. I think Adil and Bilall in the movie podcast, their interview, they talked about how their lives are just so parallel to one another. It feels inherently in her to be Kamala Khan.
And I think that can be said for almost the entire cast.
Yes.
Nate, you said off the top of the program something about being a Disney Channel-esque show, and I think that was my biggest fear here is when the show almost seemed like it might be a little too playful, a little bit too cutesy, almost a little too young to fit in with the bigger picture here. But these characters just have such a great sense of self, all of them in their various roles, and it doesn't come off kiddish or childish or simple in any regards. They're really deep, layered characters with great personalities that I just want to explore and get to know even more. And so I was really, really impressed with how even the supporting characters just make Kamala that much more interesting and that much better in the long run.
Yeah, Matt Lintz as Bruno is another great casting. I mean, when the moment I heard him, it's the voice that I was reading in those comic books, like almost to a T. And you can already tell just based off his performance and his writing how much he cares for Kamala and her family. And I also think her family is incredibly cast. Like Zenobia Shroff as Muniba and Mohan Kapoor are obviously the heart of this story. And there's a particular moment that really got me choked up with them, especially Mohan Kapoor's character. And I also loved the interaction between him and Bruno in these episodes. We see Bruno introduces him. I won't spoil it too much, but let's just say he introduces him to a famous piece of modern tech, and he's just so elated with what Bruno has done. But then you see immediately afterwards just how frustrated he is the moment it stops working for him. Like it's the perfect, relatable, dad sort of character. And I absolutely loved it. It was so good.
In terms of the friends of Kamala Khan, I really liked Nak, played by Yasmin Fletcher. There's this moment in episode 2 where she's explaining a bit about her own ideas around representation, around identity, and just, balancing what people think to what her family thinks. And it does really kind of surmise the sort of journey that Kamala Khan is on as well, in a different way. I think her character really stands out again as someone who's just naturally just feels very connected to the character that she's portraying. And yeah, Mohan Kapoor, who plays Yusuf Khan, so charming. Even
right?
just there's a moment where he's like telling a story, and it's absolutely captivating. And I think that's what you envisioned from Yusuf Khan in Ms. Marvel's comic books, is just being very captivating and very charming as a father, right? So,
oh my gosh, again, and Kevin, you just said it, like they just feel like such real people, and I think that's the biggest difference, right? As you said, between something like a Disney or like a WB style show and this,
CW,
and it has to do with the writing, and it has to do with the performances, and it has to do with the direction of this show, and the show is also just so funny. I was laughing out loud in my hotel room watching this, and just like, we get to see Kamala trying to get her driver's license at one point, and it's absolutely such a fun sort of it's so quick, it's so witty, but it's not. It's not so quick. Like, it's not like Gilmore Girls fast talking kind of humor. It still is understandable, at least. And I don't know, man. I was hanging on every single line and every single joke. It was so good.
Yeah, I think also just really connecting the story to Jersey. How they've established the city as its own character, I think is really, really great. And the locations that they're shooting in, I think it captures the landscape of mixed cultures living within America, which I think is very interesting.
And it does so quickly and without an overt amount of sort of exposition, right? It doesn't need to overtly explain things.
Life.
Right, but it still does little things where, whether it be a visual cue or a music cue, to let you know that, hey, this item is special or this moment is special, and it really helps to show and not tell, which is, again, when you've got a show this confident in what it's sort of gunning towards story-wise, is so refreshing that it doesn't need to, again, tell you every single aspect about it. It just introduces you to the characters. It introduces you to the world and to the city of Jersey City, and it does it really quickly within these first 2 episodes just to get us going. And it just, I don't know if I have anything I didn't like, but Kevin, do we have anything? Is there anything left that we want to shout out that we loved or liked before we talk about dislike?
I was just going to say, I mean, I've only been a couple times, but this is not the New Jersey that I've ever visited in terms of the vibrancy and the color and the life that they've brought to the city. I'm more familiar with when Bruno says, "Oh, that bike is gone." That bike is not going to be there when you get back. That's sort of more my impressions of the city. But anything you can do to sort of change perception is always a good thing. And the show's doing that in so many different ways. So it's just successful in every regard.
And I love, again, we talk about storytelling through the visual medium, and in a way, I almost take exactly what you just said there, Kevin. And I see this Jersey City is presented in the way that Kamala sees her Jersey City.
Exactly.
Right? And this is her,
colorful,
and that's why
vibrant.
it can be colorful and vibrant, because that's her experience through
that's
it.
That's who she is. Yes,
that's
exactly.
so freaking cool.
Yeah.
So obviously we're pretty stoked on this show. We're getting a little bit stretched out here. I'm never gonna stop. That's gonna go through the entire watch club. I'm just gonna make jokes like that. So be prepared. But was there anything that we maybe didn't like or found that maybe could have been a bit better in regards to these 2 episodes?
I mean, it's really tough to sort of nitpick something that I enjoyed this much. I will say, we are now 2 episodes in out of 6, and we really don't. I mean, we've just at the very end of the 2nd episode started to feel any sort of perceived threat or danger or any real stakes.
I mean,
I know you've got to sort of take your time with that, but it did feel it was pretty light on any real danger or anything like that. And so I'm just wondering, I mean, I know this is really just to sort of set up her involvement in bigger projects like the Marvels. But so I'm just wondering how much time they really have left to do anything here, considering we're already a third of the way through the runtime.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that much of a concern. I get what you're saying, though. I think these first 2 episodes are very much the origin story, and we haven't really gotten into the MCU qualities yet. We've kind of peeking behind the curtain. So yeah, I get what you mean, but I think they have enough time to make it still meaningful and make it impactful, and hit home a strong message.
And we're at a point now with these MCU Disney Plus shows that I feel like we can see trends, and there's definitely a trend of some of these shows dipping in the middle and coming up a little bit near the end. And I know there's a lot of people on the internet that usually say like the finales never stick the landing or what have you. So it'll be really interesting to see. I think these first 2 episodes set a really high bar. So let's get to our rating for these episodes, which we're going to rate on a scale of 1 to 5 sloth babies. As we know Kamala loves sloth babies. So yeah, just feel free to just throw out 2 ratings for each episode, and are your overall thoughts of these first 2 episodes. Justin, why don't you kick us off?
Well, yeah, I think these first 2 episodes are absolutely cosmic. They're a delight. They're imaginative. They're fun. They're extremely bold with their artistic visuals that very much capture the imaginative side of Kamala Khan. And Nate, as you pointed out, the choice of music to help represent personality and culture, it confidently knows what it wants to say, and it's clear in these first 2 episodes. It's a unique perspective that feels genuine, and as it deals with concepts around identity and knowing oneself as a means to help tell Kamala's story. And given that Kamala is a Muslim American growing up in Jersey, this is a story that needs to be told now more than ever, as it's relevant to a wider audience of people than we could ever understand. And I think, as I was mentioning, with Adil and Bilall directing the first episode and planning out sort of the visual looks and the themes through that first episode, they're continued flawlessly into episode 2 with a new director jumping aboard to continue the story. I think the show is destined to be a hit as it stays grounded in core human values like friendship, family, and culture by a cast that feels real, that feels like they're embracing their character as who they really are. But the real super strength of this series is Iman Vellani's charming portrayal of Kamala Khan. It doesn't even seem like acting. It's so natural and flawless. It feels inherently like Iman and Kamala are one. So yeah, these 2 episodes were fantastic. I am stoked to see more. I am giving both of these episodes a 5 out of 5 sloth babies.
Woo!
So there you go.
Fantastic. All right, the sloth babies are
hyped
flying
for this series. I was
high.
I was hyped for this series going into it, and it did not disappoint. So
yeah,
5 out of 5.
That's fantastic. Kevin, how about yourself?
I had to say I was really, really pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed these first 2 episodes here, and it wasn't like, oh, it kind of grew on me. It took about 30 seconds of being on my TV, and I went, oh, this is fun. Let's see where this goes. It knows exactly what it is. It knows exactly the story it wants to tell, and it just has such a fun sense of self through its characters, through its settings, through its music, through everything we've talked about. I know we've talked a lot about the amazing visuals. I thought they did a bit better job in the first one of doing all those little sort of environmental interactions with characters' thoughts and texts and everything. I almost would have liked to have seen more of that in episode 2, but there were still enough that it felt like a continuation of that first episode. I just think this show does such a good job of not taking itself too seriously, which I'm finding a lot of Phase 4 is doing right now. It's not having enough fun like a superhero story should, and yet it's also not going too cheesy, too cornball like a particular movie that was just in theaters in the MCU. I think it finds the right balance of having fun, but not feeling cheesy. And I think that's what I was really afraid of, is it was going to come off as almost campy or way too kiddish. And it's none of those things. I'm instantly invested in the character of both Kamala and Miss Marvel as we sort of find her and she finds that character herself. I'm so excited to watch her grow and watch her really, just take leaps and bounds forward as the character. I think the casting here is just impeccable. It's some of the best work they've done. This is my favorite new character to enter the MCU fray in a very, very long time. And so that really just blew me away. I can't wait to see more. And I think people are going to absolutely love the heck out of this show. Can't wait to see the general consensus when it finally comes out. I'm going to give this both episodes. They're right on par with each other. They deserve a solid 4.7 out of 5 sloth babies.
Ooh, okay. Wow. I'm so happy to hear that you're loving it. Overall, the future of the MCU seems to be focusing on younger and younger heroes, and the coolest part is that all these characters have grown up and have lived in the world that we've seen progress over these last 14 years. And this show just shows how much fun it can be to not only follow a younger hero, but also how much style can still be infused in what is essentially one of the longest running cinematic universes to date. It's crazy that, yes, it references a lot of things, but it still has its own unique style at the end of the day. And that's just awesome that we're still getting that. We say it every single time, but it feels fresh, feels new, it feels exciting. But specifically with this show, it has so much heart, and you can tell that from everyone who's, on the screen or behind it. They're so invested, and I really just can't wait to see where they take it next. Like you, Kevin, I thought it might have been a little bit of a campy WB style teen drama sort of show. And we, knowing the comic books, we might still get a little bit of that campy teen drama. But if they do it with the wit and the sort of the snappiness of the writing that we've gotten so far, I'm totally for it. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I think it won't feel cheesy or campy. It'll feel fun and fresh and exciting. And I don't know. It feels like the comic book has come to life, but they're still giving me something new. They're still giving us a new story, and I can't wait to see where these characters end up next. So overall, like you, Justin, I'm giving both these episodes 5 out of 5 sloth babies. This show slaps. This show is so good. Well, that is it for our review. We hope you enjoyed this review for Miss Marvel episodes 1 and 2. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on Miss Marvel or even your theories for where you think this show could go, well, you can stretch out your cosmic purple arms and reach us at our email, which, Justin, unfortunately, I've seen to be hit with some Terrigen Mist. I can't seem to remember where they can reach us. Justin, you let our listeners know how they can reach us.
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows and games, including our aforementioned interview with Miss Marvel's directors, Adil and Bilall, as well as our recent spoiler-free reviews for the Bob's Burger movie and Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1. Plus, we currently have our watch club for Obi-Wan well underway with our first 3 episodes out now, and we're also going to be having our watch club for this very series, Miss Marvel, where we're going to break down every single moment of the show every single week and give our thoughts and theories on where we think Kamala's adventure might take her next. And I mean, we're not done there. This has been such a busy, packed little bit of time, and it's only going to get busier for us here at the Geekcentric podcast. We actually have yet another giveaway because our wonderful friends at Disney Studios Canada have helped us with yet another giveaway. And if you want to answer the call, you can go see Lightyear early on June 15th with 3 other Space Rangers. You might get to see it early. And again, this is open for folks who are in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver. Just make sure to hop onto our Instagram and follow us, comment with your city, and make sure to tag those 3 other members of your crew for a chance to win 4 tickets. The giveaway does close June 13th. And Lightyear is in theaters June 17th. So everyone who's listening who live in one of those cities, please hop onto the Instagram, show us some love over there, and get your Space Ranger on, to infinity and beyond. And then I think the only other thing to mention is we do usually have our weekly This Week in Geek episodes every single Wednesday, where we bring you the latest news and trailer reactions. And we skipped a week this week just because of how busy it has gotten. However, we've got a doozy of an episode still out there where Justin kind of does a little bit of an interview with Darcy and I, where Darcy and I recant all of the amazing, wonderful memories from Star Wars Celebration. We discuss all the reveals, all the trailers, all the hype moments, and even some moments from trailers that no one has seen but us. Everyone at the convention, that is. So go give those episodes a listen. Go hear how much FOMO Justin had on that episode. It was great. And leave us a 5-star review if you don't mind. All right. Lanky, lengthy Justin, and Cosmic Kev, thank you so much for joining me for this review. And as we say, love ya.
Get home safe, guys.
Peace.